What's up, guys? Igor Hernandez here. I'm one of the attorneys at Cornish, Hernandez and Gonzalez, where I practice injury law and first-party homeowner property claims. And today I want to talk to you about valuation of serious injury cases and put it in a layman's terms. What is the difference in value between an injury case that is a soft tissue case where basically you have some back pain, you have some neck pain, that kind of stuff, and an injury case that is a catastrophic or a serious injury case? And so before we get into all that, I have to give you a little bit of background. I've talked about it in some other videos, but it's always good to do a little brief recap of valuation and injury cases in general. Basically, an injury case will be worth more or less depending on the following factors. Past pain and suffering, which is basically what you went through before the verdict and or settlement. Future pain and suffering, which is basically what you will go through for the rest of your life, potentially. And then you have your medical expenses, your past medical expenses, the kind of treatment that you have already incurred, and then future medical expenses, which is the kind of treatment that you would have to incur in the future. And then on top of that, you have things like loss of consortium, which are claims that are related to your relatives or your wife or your children not being able to have you as the same person that you were before the injury. And so when you have a catastrophic injury case, when you have a serious injury case, the biggest differences are that obviously the pain and suffering, the loss of enjoyment of life component is going to be significant, right? If you have an injury case where your back hurts and it hurts, every now and then and whatever the case may be, yeah, it's an injury that's important, but the amount of pain and suffering that you're going through, it's nothing when you compare it to somebody who may be paralyzed and, they can't feel their body anymore, or somebody who was in a fire and was in excruciating pain from being burned alive, basically, and now remains in excruciating pain because they have nerve damage as a result. So the pain and suffering award difference would be significant because what we're talking about in injury cases as it relates to pain and suffering, to loss of enjoyment of life, to all those things, what we're really doing is turning suffering into a money award, basically putting a dollar value into the suffering of a person. And so obviously the more that you suffer, then the higher that award should be. And then the second thing that's significantly bigger or significantly more in a catastrophic injury case is the past and, most importantly, the future medical treatment awards. And the difference for that, or the reason for that, is because in catastrophic injury cases, for example, if somebody's paralyzed, let's say they become a quadriplegic as a result of an injury, then that person is going to require treatment for the rest of their life. It's not just going to be, I go do some physical therapy and I'm probably fine, or I have the surgery and I'm probably fine, like in non-catastrophic injury cases, but rather it's a situation where they're permanently in a state that they're going to need to continue getting medical care. They're going to need to have a home aide who's taking care of them. They may need to have oxygen provided to them on a regular basis. They may need to have medications. They basically will likely require 24/7 round-the-clock care. And so that is worth a lot of money. It takes a lot of money to pay for that kind of care. And so if you're 20 years old and you become a quadriplegic, and I don't mean you, but I mean in a theoretical scenario, somebody who's 23 years old becomes a quadriplegic, they may have a life expectancy of another 30, 40 years. That amount of years, the amount of medical treatment that will be required over those 30, 40 years, when you're talking about this level of care, it's going to be in the millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so that case is going to be worth significantly more than a non-catastrophic injury case on the medical component, because the amount of medical treatment and the cost of that medical treatment going forward for the rest of that person's life is significant. And so that's it for now, guys. Just wanted to give you a brief breakdown as to some of the difference in valuation when you're talking about catastrophic injury cases versus non-catastrophic injury cases, and the things that lawyers need to keep in mind when handling these kind of cases for their clients who have been severely and catastrophically injured. And that's it. I'll catch you again next time.